Today, I want to share that while I do this Homeless 366 project, I stand in solidarity with the Karen Reed movement. On January 29th of 2022, John O'Keefe, a decorated police officer and great human being, was severely beaten and left to freeze to death in a snowstorm by corrupt people who utilize their connections to other corrupt officials to frame an innocent woman. This winter, I will be living mostly outside in a tent, battling the cold and trying not to freeze to death all winter to bring awareness to unhoused populations in Massachusetts and everywhere. In Massachusetts, there are caps on shelters and warming centers, and sometimes people are forced to stay out in the deadly cold conditions in Massachusetts. During the winter, invisible people who subsist on the lowest rung of our socioeconomic ladder are subjected to a battle for their life. Massachusetts would have every one of you pay billions of dollars in taxes to support those out in the street. But they don't tell you that there's actually a good number of people that are turned away from shelters in the dead of winter. In my mind, this is unacceptable. No human being should ever be forced in the cold, no matter what their situation is. So just like corrupt, privileged people put John O'Keefe in the cold, every year our society puts countless unnamed people in the cold. I will not take a shelter bed this winter. I will subject myself to the harshest of conditions and will only seek help if I am in fear of losing my life. The corruption has to stop. Like Morrissey said, this has to stop on all levels. There needs to be better support networks, especially to provide the essential provisions to maintain health and life for all people in America. This winter, my mission is to advocate for better all-encompassing services to help people out of the cold, as well as accountability for those corrupt actors in our society who rob the system under the guise of goodness or charity. And that's what I wrote on Facebook, and I'm going to freestyle right now. What's happening is our public servants are given power, and that power is getting corrupted, and people are afraid to speak out about it. And when people do, nothing's done because there's so many guilty parties out there. What I can say is one man was brave enough to speak out about it, Turtle Boy, and he created a whole movement. Because as a society, if we band together, we can create change. This has been happening in Canton, and this has been happening with the Karen Reed movement. This type of corruption is unacceptable, and something like a miscarriage of justice that is going on in the Karen Reed case should have been ended long ago. Nothing like this should go on as long as it has, and that's why it's become such a huge, silly charade that it has. It's ridiculous. We as a people, we need to fight for better regulations, more accountability for those that we put in power to do the right thing. Now, I can tell you I'm not perfect, and a lot of times in my life I didn't do the right thing, and eventually I was held accountable. As I've grown and developed as a man, I have now learned how to hold myself accountable and accept accountability. We're all flawed. None of us are perfect, but accountability is an important tool so that we can continue to grow and develop in our society, and we can grow and develop as individuals. Individualism is out of control in our country, and people are more concerned about themselves and what benefits them than they are about the whole of a community. Community matters. I think back, well, I don't think back, but in doing research and things in the past, human society was built off of community. We are a social creature where we collect in large groups and we work together to achieve common goals so that we may live harmoniously in nature. We have to. Without it, we would all die. And we live harmoniously amongst each other. But when people are given certain privileges and powers and they abuse that power and they are not held accountable, the pattern will continue, and they'll continue doing more and more unacceptable, corrupt things as long as they can get away with it. And being homeless for this 54 days as I have, I've seen things that just are unacceptable. And right now, the biggest of those things is turning people away from warming centers, shelters, in the dead of winter when it's freezing cold. People have been complaining. The hospital system's overburdened because people are going to hospitals, police stations, are getting cycled into these systems for basic needs. And the reason for that is because all your tax dollars that are supposed to be funneled into social services that should be making sure that people are not left out in the cold is getting absorbed by different agencies, some of them real good, some people real good, some of them real bad. So higher levels of accountability are needed. It's unacceptable in this day and age that corruption, like has been seen in the Karen Reed case, can happen. It's unacceptable that corruption on the level of human service is acceptable, because it is. And I don't stand for it. I stand alone. I'm independent. I'm out here. I live in the woods. So people might want to hate me and not like what I'm doing, but I'm doing it the best way that I figured out how. And I'm going to keep doing it until it's over. So it's what it is. So that's my piece. That's what I got to say for the day. And if you agree, if you have suggestions, if you have criticism, send them my way, because I'm open to it all. Thank you.